Hey folks, I wanted to talk about how you might potentially be able to heal your back problems and your shoulder problems. And I want you just to stick with me here because a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, you might, first of all, have a little bit of resistance because it might be a new concept to you. So that's why I just want you to just listen to what I have to say, because this might pertain to you and this might be able to help you. And that is what these videos are all for, is so that you feel better, you become a healthier version of yourself where you can actually thrive in your life today. So we are energetic beings. That's not a surprise. We are, we vibrate at a certain frequency, a certain energy. That's very obvious as well. So, you walk into a room, if two people have been fighting, you can tell the energy is low, the energy is thick. If people are just laughing and they're, really excited and happy, you walk into the room. And if you've been feeling down, that energy will increase your energy. And you will just feel and you will feed off of that, because we're all energy beings. We are, things that happen to us, our traumas, our emotions are stored in our body. And if you actually look at the beautiful scientist who I just love her so much, she's passed on now, but Candace B. Pert. And she talks about how emotions are stored. They're not stored in our mind. And a lot of people find that very shocking. Our emotions are not stored in our mind. They're stored in our body. So one of the things that happened to me was I was dealing with a lot of lower back pain a year after I had Chasten. And when I had given birth to Chasten, I was in labor for 43 hours and he was posterior, and my hips didn't expand the whole way. So he got stuck. So, and then he's sitting there for 43 hours. So eventually, after I gave birth to him and everything, after a year, I started having a lot of lower back problems. And so I went to, different chiropractors and osteopaths and stuff. And they said, of course your lower back is bothering you. It's because of what you went through with childbirth. And that's normal. So you have to keep coming back to us and we'll help fix you, which I would definitely, I believe that. So getting help through chiropractic and osteopath is very beneficial. But I started going a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole, and I started looking into emotions and how emotions really affect our body. And different emotions there's actually some studies out there that show with particular areas in the body where certain emotions sit, cause us to have long-term pain. So one of the areas is lower back, which will cause a lot of pain for us. And so even if we've done a lot of therapies or anything to try to heal it, and people years later still have back problems, there's a possibility that it can be emotions that are trapped and stored in that area. Just hold on, stay with me for a second. The next thing is the shoulders. Shoulders are another one that tends to hold on to emotions. And so for these, all of our body, but let me just talk about these two in particular first. So the emotions that typically are trapped in the lower back and in the shoulders that people have long-term issues with, and they've done lots of therapies or even surgeries and still continuously have pain years later, is trapped and stored rage and anger. Yeah. And so I thought, oh, okay, well, I don't have that. And then as I started reading into it more and started thinking about things that had bothered me from the past and current situations that I was going on when Chasten was a year old in my personal life, and realizing that I was really full of anger and I was full of rage for particular circumstances that were going on in my life. And I thought, what if, I know I had gone through all this stuff with my back, and I know they're saying my back is out and all of this stuff, but what if it is stored rage? So what I started to do is I started to say, because what happens is that as I went down the rabbit hole and started reading about all of this energy stuff, is that our body tends to give us pain because it is trying to protect us from the emotions that we don't want to feel. So what I started to do is I put my hand on my lower back and I would say, thank you so much, body. Thank you so much, lower back, for trying to protect me from my emotions by giving me this pain. But I no longer need this pain. I'm okay to feel the emotions. I'm okay. And so how it really brought me that to say that is because the day before I was standing somewhere and I went to grab my purse and my back completely seized up. And that has never happened in my whole entire life. It completely seized up. I couldn't even bend over. So the next day I started saying that. I started saying, thank you, back, for trying to protect me by giving me this pain, but I no longer need this pain. I'm okay to feel the emotions. The next day, the pain eased off. I did it again. Said it all again. The next day, the pain was even later. Third day, I say it again. The pain was gone. Gone. 100% gone. Gone. I'm telling you, it's crazy. And so I thought it was crazy at first, right? Even though I'm into energy and I understand that we're emotional and energetic beings, we store all our emotions there. It still seemed so wild to me. But as I started researching and reading a lot more people's testimonials throughout the years, it made a lot of sense where it says, people that are still suffering 20, 30 years later from shoulder problems, back problems, even though they said, they might have been in a car accident, they might have, had injury. Our bodies are miraculous things and we heal. So if you haven't healed over years and years and you still have those problems and you're still, well, I had that injury, football injury from 1974, so that makes sense. But whatever was going on in your life during the time that you had that injury, you stored those emotions in that part of your body during that time. So I'm talking about rage right now, but there's many other emotions, clearly. And typically what I've seen and what I've read was people with shoulder and back was rage. But there's other issues throughout the body, like knees and elbows and, neck and other areas that are different emotions that tend to arise from various things. And then you start going really deep into German New Medicine. And I suggest you guys do that because it is seriously mind-blowing and amazing. And it really opens you up to seeing how incredible the body is and how we are supposed to heal. We are supposed to feel great. And that regardless of your age, you don't need to, start to age and feel bad and start to, break down. And I know I've done other videos on the myths of aging, and it is true. We don't need to start to fall apart. And we're so used to in this day and age of hearing that constantly from people. And I'm talking about, I hear it from people in their 30s. I'm 46 as I'm making this video right now. And I don't have knee problems, joint problems, any of that stuff, because I took care of myself in my younger years, knowing as I got older, I wanted to be a healthier version of myself when I got older. So I always had that in mind, whereas a lot of people just kind of live in the moment and they're like, whatever, just want to eat whatever and do whatever now because you can, whatever. Like, when you're young, you don't think about it. I always did. I always thought of my future. I always thought of who I want to be as my future self. And so hormonally, inflammation wise, body wise, like I always cared about making sure that my body was healthy. And I really believe that we have the ability to heal and we have the ability to slow down the aging process. And we can be 95 with a sharp mind. We can be as sharp as a whip. We can remember things from when we were like 2 and 3 years old if we wanted to, based on how we treat ourselves. So number one, it's your mentality. If you're, an optimistic, happy-go-lucky person, that's one. Number two is even if you're a happy-go-lucky person, if you have a lot of stored emotions, stored traumas, and things that you are not willing to look at and allow them to be processed through your body. And again, I'm not a fan of talk therapy. I've talked about this a lot. Like 6 months in talk therapy, fine, that's great. After that, we need to be doing things to really move it through the body, because again, talking about it isn't going to release it from the body. It's really helping to get things off our chest, especially things that we've never dealt with before. But getting the emotions through the body, there's a lot of other holistic modalities that really, really help us do that. So there's like simple things like tapping. There is somatic healing. There is, there's just so many things. And I'll maybe do another video on all the different modalities out there. But I think that us by sitting and feeling is really important. Even like when I was talking about in one of my videos, once a year doing a juicing fast, like a cleanse. A lot of people can't get through it, not because they think that they're hungry, but the hunger is actually suppressing their feelings. And so when they eat, it's like suppressing the feelings that they don't want to feel. So when you're juicing in abundance. So you're never starving. Like you're juicing an abundance of fruits and vegetables, but it's helping to cleanse and purify and detoxify the body. And again, there's very important methods to go through that. You're doing that. You're not just like not understanding how to do it and you think you're just going to do it tomorrow. Like there's methods leading up to that keeps you healthy and that you do it in a safe and healthy way. But a lot of times when people are doing those types of cleanses, they can't go past a day because they need to eat, even though they've had a ton of juice. It's because those stored emotions are starting to bubble up and they can't deal with it. And they don't even realize it because it's on an unconscious level. So all those things kind of come into play. But there's a lot of ways that we can really help to heal the body. So emotions, like helping that to come out. Obviously, the other one is making sure that what we're putting into our body is healthy and nourishing. And when we sit and we think about it, and we feel the food that is going into our body and how we feel pre and post eating that, we start to become more aware. We start to become more in touch with our body. We start to become more in tuned. And then the more in tuned you become, then the more you start to realize and feel like, I'm not going to have that anymore. That doesn't make me feel so good. Maybe for the 5 minutes that I eat it and I love it, and then all of a sudden I feel awful for hours later, days later, all those things. So then we can start to create that process of having a healthier body. And it is very possible, you guys. I really am passionate about this because I come from a town of just such beautiful people. And when I was a kid, most people ate from their gardens, ate from the land. And not until I was in grade 12 did we get a McDonald's in our town. And then we got a Wendy's in Tim Hortons. And then they got like all these other things. And at 18, I moved across the country. So I had gone back, a couple of years later, and then years later, and then years later. And every time I would go back, the obesity was out of control. And it is out of control in this day and age. And it is because people started to lose touch with the earth and with themselves, and the fast food kind of took over. And then it's like not just all the people are, not all the people, but a humongous majority of the people are obese, but their kids are obese. And then their brains aren't able to cope with day-to-day life. And then depression and anxiety and all of these ADHD and all of these issues start to arise. And this is like part of this world that we're living in now. But I'm bringing this to you just as an awareness that we need to make some shifts now at getting back into the way things used to be and becoming more, grounded with the earth and becoming grounded with yourself and realizing that you're an energetic being and that healing is possible. And that getting in touch with yourself and really falling in love with you and who you are, and that your body has gone through so much. Isn't it time that you gave it a break and started giving it more love and more nutrition and more grounding and more downtime? And when I mean downtime, I don't mean scrolling. I mean reading books that are going to inspire you and make your heart feel good. Sitting with your kids, doing lovely things with your friends and with your family that bring you joy. So anyways, guys, I wanted to just do this video on how I healed back pain. And I'm going to do some other videos in the future of other things that I have healed and taken care of, but I wanted to just drop this for you guys today because it was on my mind. And I just think that the body is really miraculous, and that the more we give it love, it'll give us love back. All right, I'll talk to you on the next video.